Well, it's been one of the most requested videos on my channel, and finally I can bring to you all another Diapet review. So today we're going to be looking at two models, the first being Birdie, number DK-9004, and the second being Annie and Clarabel, number DK-9006. I guess technically you could classify these as being two models, but whatever. So I'm really excited to look at these because I've been anxious to get my hands on these for a while. Now, Annie and Clarabel, they've been sitting here for a couple months now. Birdie, I just got in a couple days ago. But anyways, that's enough talk. Let's get into the review. Okay, the first thing I'll show is the box, and being a majority of these is written in Japanese, I'm not going to spend too much time on them. If you want to look at anything a little bit closer, you can pause the video. But, yeah. And you can see that's Birdie's box. And Annie and Clarabel's is pretty much the same, just a longer format box. And real quick, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to Charlie over in Oregon. He actually donated this Annie and Clarabel set to me. It was a Christmas gift that he got me. And so, yeah, thank you to him for making this review possible. And here's the bottom of the box. But anyways, let's get these models out now, because I'm really anxious to take a look at them. Now I have to include this unboxing shot because I know if I don't, there's going to be somebody raging in the comments, you didn't show us you taking it out of your box! So I'm doing it now. Hope you're happy. But anyways, there's Birdie, and wow, that model looks really nice, at least in my opinion. Another thing I want to mention is that this is the first time I've had these models out of the box, because I didn't take them out and look at them before I made this review because I wanted to get my first reactions. So you're seeing them basically at the same time I am. Okay, Annie and Clarabel seem to be stuck. There we go. Okay. And these are the ones I really want to take a look at because I was really anxious to get my hands on those. But go ahead and clear off the workbench here, and we'll take a look at these. Alright, with the models out of their boxes, we can now take a closer look at them. And I think the first one, or ones I'm going to look at, are going to be Annie and Clarabel, because these are the ones I was most excited about. And the first thing I want to point out here is that the coaches are linked together by this clip right here, which just pulls apart like this. And we'll look at Annie first. And I've said this once, and I'll say it again, but Diapet has yet again rendered another Thomas & Friends character beautifully. And this model, in my opinion, captures Annie's character perfectly, because you look at the face, that definitely looks like Annie to me. You can see here we got the buffer details, a little bit of red right there, although I feel these should have been more pronounced than what they are. So I don't know what exactly happened there, but going along the side, we got detail around the doors, door handle there, grab handle there. And believe it or not, these coaches do have interior detail. There is seats in there, and I don't know how well you'll see that, but trust me, they are there. And if we look at Annie's name, that looks nice. Going on the back of the model here, again, same buffer details, a little bit of relief right there. And along the roof, again, more detail there. And it just amazes me that Diapet makes these models look so good, and they look basically like they're CGI renders. But we'll look at Clarabel next, and we can see here that she's got pretty much the same detail Annie does. I mean, they're twins. But there's Clarabel's face. Again, that looks lovely. And amazingly, Clarabel has her brake compartment, and that was something that concerned me right from the start when I saw this model, because when I saw the prototype image, the brake compartment was actually on the front of the coach instead of the rear. And you can imagine how relieved I was when I finally saw that this was going to be the final product, because if Diapet had done it the other way around, that would have definitely been a big thumbs down in my books. But it's amazing that they went the extra mile and put the brake compartment on. I really like that, because very few manufacturers have actually put that little bit of effort into their models of Clarabel. And the only other company I can think of that has done that would be the Japanese company Tomix that does the N-Scale Thomas & Friends line. So, like I said, big plus to Diapet for giving Clarabel her brake compartment. And another thing that's nice with these models is that Diapet did give them separate faces, because you can see there that the faces are not the same. If you look close, Diapet has given Annie and Clarabel different faces. And a lot of people would say that Annie should have the shocked face and Clarabel should just have this sort of smiling face. But I believe they've done away with that in the CGI era. And me personally, I don't have a problem with it. I think they look nice either way. And I still feel like these Diapet models are very well done. Although the one complaint I do have with these is I kind of don't understand why Diapet went with this clip coupling on or in between the coaches. I honestly would have preferred if they just went with the standard coupling like they have here. But at the same time, I guess it's not like you're going to be coupling anything in between Annie and Clarabel, so I don't know, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, yeah, that's Annie and Clarabel there, and we'll go ahead and take a look at Birdie next. Now, this model of Birdie has a lot of good things going for it, because once again, Diapet has done a good job in rendering a Thomas character. And it's all in the face, which this seems to capture Birdie's character perfectly in my opinion. And in addition to that, we got some headlight details, although I feel these should have had some silver behind them to make them pop out a little more, because being that they're transparent and they got the red behind them, they seem to blend into the model and be less noticeable. But on the side here, we got some grab handle details around the door. There are some vents right here, probably for cooling the motor. And interestingly, Diapet gave Birdie rubber tires, and that's a really nice touch, because that is something you'd see more on your higher end 1/64 scale items. So it's nice to see that Diapet put that extra effort into this model. But going along the side here, not a lot of detail, not a whole lot to say about it. On the back, we do have tail lights, although I feel these would have looked better had they been molded in like a transparent red plastic, similar to what you have for the headlights here. Although it's nice that this detail's even there, but yeah, that's nice. Along this side here, not a whole lot to say, not a lot of detail. But one really big plus, in my opinion, is the fact that Diapet actually gave Birdie interior detail, and the fact that the interior is even open, because you can see there's seats in there. That's really nice. Also got driver's seat there, plus the steering wheel. So that is a really nice touch. I mean, Diapet could have easily just, you know, enclosed the whole model, black plastic windows, and been done with it. But the fact that they gave Birdie a detailed interior, that's definitely a big thumbs up in my opinion. However, this model is not without its faults, because the first thing I noticed about this was the fact that these mounting posts, in my opinion, I feel like they distract from the interior. And I don't know if Diapet could have got around this somehow, but it just, like I said, it is a distraction, and it does bother me. But another thing that kind of nags at me is the fact that the whole piece for the windows around here is one piece of transparent plastic, and Diapet just went in and painted the red on, and it's not the same shade as the rest of the bus, and it's more noticeable on this side. And I mean, personally, I could live with that, but the big problem I have is the fact that these mounting posts are so noticeable. And one last thing I noticed about this is that the bottom is molded in gray plastic. I feel this would have looked better had it been molded in black plastic, but at the same time, if Birdie is sitting upright like this, you're not going to notice it anyways. But the one last thing that I want to talk about with this is scaling, because I feel like Birdie, the scaling might be off with him, and we'll go ahead and do some comparisons now. So the first comparison I want to make with Birdie is to see how he scales up next to Thomas, and when we put the models side by side, this is where we start to see a few issues arise, because Birdie looks like he has been made oversized because he is a fair bit bigger than Thomas, even though Thomas is taller. But you look at Birdie's proportions compared to Thomas, and it just looks like the scaling on Birdie is off. And it's not just these Diapet models that you can compare Birdie to, because if I bring in like a 1/64 scale school bus, for example, and you can see Birdie literally towers over this bus, which again, this is supposed to be 1/64 scale, and so is Birdie. And if I bring in a 1/64 scale car, maybe that looks a little bit better, but I don't know. I bring in a 1/64 scale garbage truck, which would be a sizable rig, and Birdie is just, the size of Birdie here is even bigger than this truck, and it's honestly ridiculous when you consider how big a truck like this would be, and Birdie's probably nothing more than just a tour bus. And I can even bring in, you know, like here's a Cars character, Lightning McQueen. And again, just these are actually bigger than 1/64 scale, and even this looks puny next to Birdie. And I can bring in big machines like a 1/64 scale combine, and Birdie's still a fair bit bigger than this. And even when you compare Birdie to the world's largest farm tractor, okay, maybe then we're looking a little bit better, but but it's just, I don't know. Birdie does not seem to have been made to the 1/64 scale specifications, and whether or not you can, you know, really make a comparison like I just did, it's debatable. But I want to show you guys how Birdie looks when compared to some 1/64 scale figures. Now I've got some 1/64 scale figures here, and this is where I really started to notice an issue with scaling, because after referencing photos of Birdie from the CGI series, I found that the doorway on the bus was a little bit taller than that of a person, and in some cases somebody may even have to duck in order to get through. But when taking these 1/64 scale figures, putting them into the Diapet model Birdie, and comparing height, I found that the doorway was a fair bit taller, and there was a lot more clearance between the top of the figure's head and the top of the doorway, which that pretty much proves my point even further, that I feel Birdie has been made oversized compared to what he should have been. In terms of scaling when it comes to the Annie and Clarabel models, I did the exact same thing that I did with Birdie and referenced photos of them from the CGI series, and found that in the end the size seems to check out, and that was something that I was concerned about. I thought Annie and Clarabel were oversized as well, but no, this is exactly how they look, and Thomas is the same way. And I'm just really happy to finally have this set now, because I was really anticipating the release of Annie and Clarabel, and I had hoped to have them this time last year, but of course they weren't released until I think about summer of 2019. But I'm really happy to have them now, and I mean, just really excited about having them. The last thing I want to talk about in this video, and it's also something I brought up in my first Diapet review, is the track system that I use for my 1/64 scale displays, because it is compatible with these Diapet models, and I've had many people contact me asking what I use and where they can get some. And for track, I use 1/64 scale or S-gauge track from a company called American Models. This is what it looks like, and I have found this to be the best option for track if you want track for your Diapet models, because I've honestly seen many people out there doing Diapet reviews, and they're trying to talk up other track systems to being compatible with the Diapet models, but really they're only semi-compatible with them, because in a lot of cases the track they're using, you can only run one Diapet model, and they don't work for the larger format engines that Diapet does. But this American Models track is a different story, and I've had very good luck with it, and this is why I think this is the way to go. And if you're worried about cost isn't really too much of an issue, because for a 3-foot piece of flex track from American Models, you're paying about $11 for a 3-foot piece, and curves are reasonable. I think they're about $4 to $5. 1-foot straights, I think it's about the same price. So American Models track, like I said, it's the way to go. If you don't have any for your Diapet models and you want to get some, go over to AmericanModels.com and take a look. Like I said, I've used this and I've had very good luck with it, and I think at the end of the day, this looks a lot better. So, what are my final thoughts on these models? Well, once again, I think Diapet did a really good job on these characters, and there's a lot of positive things to be said about them, but there are a couple nagging issues. And something I wanted to mention, because I overlooked it before, is I don't exactly understand why Annie and Clarabel had to have this transparent bit underneath them, because really all it does is hold in the axles and nothing else. And I would have thought Diapet could have come up with a better design instead of this, but really I've found when you put these models down on the track, it's not as noticeable, and if you can live with that, which I know I will, it's not a big deal, but to some people, they'd probably be very critical over that. But in terms of grading these models, I'd have to say that Birdie gets a 7 out of 10. And I only say that because of the scaling and the fact that, as I mentioned before, these posts are distracting in my opinion. But overall, Birdie's still a good model. Like I said, he just gets a 7 out of 10. And as for Annie and Clarabel, it's kind of a two-way thing. Because me personally, I'd give them a 10 out of 10, but I'd say if you're someone that's bothered by this transparent bit underneath, 9 out of 10. But overall, I think these are still good models. I would recommend Annie and Clarabel, definitely. Birdie, if you got an issue with the scaling, I wouldn't recommend him, but if you just want to get the entire Diapet collection, definitely pick up both of these because I think they are well worth the price. Just from memory, I paid $24 for Birdie, and I think Annie and Clarabel hover around the $40 to $50 range. You really got to shop around. But again, I want to give a thanks to Charlie over in Oregon for donating these models to me. I really appreciate it, and I was really happy to finally get around to doing this review. But anyways, that's going to be it for now, folks. Let me know your thoughts on these models in the comments below. Feel free to check out my other pages. There will be links in the description. And I will see you in the next video. Take care.